Cool. Well, so the challenge is some of our tables have 3 guys and some have 13 guys. So it's just hard to navigate. So doing the best we can. This is good. So who had an epic boss that they want to tell us about? Like who had a great boss? And then give me like one quality that made them awesome. Anybody? Not all at once. Okay, Doug.
It's my current boss. He actually now attends this church, and he's been God-fearing, God leading through the gospel since day one. And he's obviously helped me become a better person along with a better business person.
Sweet. Okay. So he's concerned about you as a person, but also professionally, right? Though he's not here tonight, so that's a little bit of a downer, you know? I mean, anyway, yeah. Somebody else who had a great boss. All right, Stu.
We're talking here briefly about the difference between a micromanager and a macro manager. Best boss I ever had was a macro manager. Doing a lot of reports, keep it between the ditches, get the job done, won't bother you, goodbye. You know, very simple.
Big picture guy, right? Yep. Gotta like that. It's kind of how I try to lead. Anybody else? Let's go. Someone over here. Okay. I'm not saying it's John. I'm not saying it's not John. Could be Brian. Could be Patrick. I could be going through puberty at 48. Anything's possible. Anybody have one more boss to tell us about? That was awesome. Brian? Okay. Sorry, Kyle. I'll come. Okay. Yeah. All right, Brian.
Sure, I'll tell you about my best boss. Actually followed my worst boss.
Okay.
And this guy was an incredible leader. There aren't very many good leaders, but he had the communication skills to communicate his vision, supported his people enthusiastically, always wanted the best for everybody, and held everybody accountable. He was great.
Dang, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, so we all remember bad bosses, right? They're easy to remember, the guys we hated, the ladies we hated, but good bosses, man, I feel like I've had 1 or 2 that were just like next level, and they stick with you. Well, tonight we're going to look at 6 traps to avoid at work. Okay, anybody remember playing Pitfall in the 80s? Any Gen Xers out there? Oh yeah, man, I wasted a lot of time playing Pitfall. Well, we'll probably actually only get to 3 of them because I like giving you guys time to talk. But if we get to 6, we get to 6. We'll see, okay? But here's the deal with traps. Traps are traps because you don't know they're lurking for you, right? Like if they had a big sign on them that said, "I'm a trap," you probably wouldn't fall into it, right? You don't step into a pile of dog poop because you know it's there. You step into it because you don't know it's there. Well, traps are the same way. And in our lives, our careers, but even in our retirement, there's some of these traps lurking for us that can keep us from being most successful. So we'll be on page 74 tonight, if you want to open to there and fill in some blanks. We'll hit a couple of those. It says, these work traps can rob us of joy, influence, and integrity. So that's kind of why they're important, because what we've been looking at this whole time together is that God wants us to be about 2 things in our work, our careers, and even our retirement. Creating and cultivating, right? Like creating everything from job-focused things to people to cultivating. And as I think of joy, influence, and integrity, those really play into that greatly. So if I can avoid stepping into something that's going to rob me of joy or influence or integrity in my career, I want to avoid it. So I don't know about you guys, but that's me. The first one we're going to jump into is the unrealistic expectations trap. So your word there is unrealistic, okay? It says the unrealistic expectations trap. When our work doesn't meet our expectations, we can easily give in to disappointment, bitterness, and cynicism. Have you ever had that where you had like these expectations for what a job was going to be like and then what it was actually like? Anybody had that happen? I don't know if you've seen these expectation versus reality memes ever that are hilarious, you know? But I thought this one was hilarious, where it's like, if you've gone through a job search, it's like there's always the job you think you're going to get and then the job you realize you have about 6 months into it. And I think this describes it pretty well. It's hard to see, but it says job ad. That's a really nice looking picture of a tail. Interview, you know, things are starting to look a little shadier. by induction, like you're in training, you're in it, and you're starting to realize, like, oh no, I might have just boarded the Titanic, right? And then sometimes, hopefully not your actual job today, but sometimes you get into the actual job and you're like, there are children running this, and I now work for them, and my family's dependent upon them. Woohoo, right? Like sometimes that's true, but sometimes I think we just have bad expectations built up in our head for what we want to get out of work that maybe isn't realistic. And I want to whiteboard that together here for a little bit to get us thinking. Like, what are some things maybe that we're expecting out of work that work can't provide? Anybody have any ideas? Like, what are some expectations of work that you're like, man, that would be great, but no job I've ever had has been like that? Anything come out in your head? Perfection. Okay. So that's a bad marker. Give that one over there. Okay. Perfection, right? Is that what you said? Perfection, right? Okay, what was somebody else? Happiness, right? Like work's gonna make me happy. I'm gonna come home every day smiling so big. It's gonna be amazing. I'm gonna be singing and dancing. It's gonna be great. Somebody else? Rich, right? Like everybody who gets a job, if you go to college, one day you will retire a millionaire. Like wasn't that the dream we were all sold? You know, like go to college, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna be rich. Other people, Stu, or Art, I'm sorry. Art. What was that? Okay, so success, right? I'll call that success. That you're like, man, I am gonna crush it in this role. They've been waiting for me, right? Like I'm the guy. Those guys have been doing it 20 years. They're all morons. I'm 23. I'm here, right? Okay, what else? What else maybe have you expected from work that was maybe a little naive to expect of work? Stability. Dave, stability. They could never move on from me, right? I am irreplaceable. I own this place, right? And then you get that email or that letter in the mail. Like, dang it. Yeah. Jim and then Matt. Jim.
That it would be easy.
Easy. That's a great one. We're going to talk about that. That's a good one, Jim. Yeah, back to Matt. And then synergy. That's an S word, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Dave, you're my spelling guy. So the book spelled a word wrong, and Dave caught it, thankfully, so I was able to change my PowerPoint. Let's go, Kyle. Grace, right? Like wouldn't you like that? That they're going to assume the best of your intentions, right? Yeah, let's go one more. Work-life balance. Balance, okay, and then Frank, I'll let you get in here. So like defined role, is that what you're getting at? Oh, definite, okay, gotcha. So it's gonna define you, right? We're gonna talk about that too. It's good. Yeah, so maybe there are these things that we're hoping sometimes that work will pull through for us in our lives that it really isn't meant to, right? It's a little bit of trying sometimes to get blood from a stone, right? Like work doesn't always do that. From my expectation, okay? And here's the no dust statement that I just want to throw out there. Sometimes, and excuse my French, but sometimes work is just gonna suck, right? Like there's probably 50-something guys here, and I would guess 10% of us this week had a week that just sucked, right? Just by the odds, work sometimes is gonna be terrible. There's going to be horrible days at work where you drive home and you're just like, I am never going back there again. I hate that person. It just, whew. And I wish I could tell you that the Bible promises that it won't. But the Bible actually tells us that work is going to be frustrating. Okay, from the very beginning, Adam and Eve in the garden, they kind of eat the apple, they sin. Again, we looked at that last week, the definition of what is sin and what is the gospel and all that, where sin is just this idea of telling God, I'm going to do what I want. And it started with Adam and Eve. They're like, we don't care what you say about the tree and the apple. We're going to eat it. It looks good. And the consequences of that, for Eve, it was like childbirth. Thanks, but no thanks. I've watched that happen 4 times. Don't want to do it myself. But for Adam, it said to Adam, because you listened to your wife and ate the fruit from the tree, about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. And here's the little secret. Adam was standing right next to her. Okay, so it wasn't like he was off and she came and got him. It's like he was watching all this happen. He just stayed quiet. Listen to this. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat food from it. All the days of your life, it will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. Like, doesn't work feel like that sometimes? We're just like, this is just so frustrating. This shouldn't be so hard. Like, we were just having that conversation yesterday, my wife and I, like, we're trying to, like, something with health insurance and just jumping through all the hoops, and it's like, why is everything so stinking hard? Like, that like, God tells us straight up, like, hey, sometimes, pardon my French, sometimes work's gonna suck. It just is. And here's what I think I do, okay, because I'm an idealist. Think back, when's the last time you went on a walk in the park? Right, we live in Anderson, so we'll go like the Veterans Park up there near Air Elementary, and it's beautiful. There's a walking trail. I mean, just put yourself there, okay? Just imagine. It's like late April, it's warm. You're out walking the trail, Brian, you know, you and your wife, you're strolling. Trees are in bloom, birds are chirping, flowers, you know, are blooming, it's fragrant. This is amazing. You know, a nice cool breeze blows by. Everybody's so nice. You're like, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing great. Good to see you. Good to see you too. Cute puppy, your pet, you know? Right? Like, sometimes I think, my problem is I think that work is supposed to be like a walk in the park, right? Like, that's what it's supposed to be, right? Right? It's these things on the board. That's what works. And then when it's not, I get frustrated. I don't know about you, but I do. Well, if work's not a walk in the park, what's the other side of the analogy? And here's where I got to be really careful with words and analogies, because words matter. And it's really tempting, okay, to be like, work is something horrible, right? Like, work is like walking over Legos that have been lit on fire while juggling knives blindfolded, right? It's terrible. You know, AI can produce any image you want it to produce, by the way. Though I did want him to be barefoot, so it screwed that up, right? But that would be disingenuous, because work isn't really always horrible, terrible, painful, regrettable. So I was trying to think of what would I balance that analogy with. And what I came up with is that work isn't a walk in the park. Work is a climb up a mountain. Any of you guys ever climbed a mountain? A few of us? Yeah. So in 2014, I was on staff with Young Life, and we were in Colorado. BV, Buena Vista, or Bueno Vista, I don't know, everybody pronounces it differently. But we were there for a month, and once a week, we would have to get 300 plus high school students up Chrysolite Mountain, or Mount Chrysolite. Okay, it's a 13,000-foot mountain, right? It's hard to tell from that, but that's a big mountain. And it looked like this. It looked like us, about 30 adults, pushing 300 high school kids up a 13,000-foot mountain, when they're all from like Ohio, New York, Nebraska, right? Like, they're just dying from oxygen deprivation, as I was as a 38-year-old chubby guy, right? But not only was I trying to get myself up the mountain, I'm trying to get these kids up the mountain, right? And there's like crying going on. I like, kid you not, kids are like breaking down on the side 30 minutes into this walk, because it was steep. Took 4 hours to get from base to the top. Crying, kids would fake injuries. They'd be like, I turned my ankle, man. Sorry, I just can't go on. It's like, well, we can't leave without you. We're not going to leave you here. We would have kids literally refuse to move. Like, has your dog ever done that when you're walking your dog and he just sits down? He's like, I'm not moving, man. You're going to have to drag me. There were multiple times where we carried kids that were injured up the rest of the mountain on stretchers, because we weren't going to leave anyone behind. That was sort of part of the deal. You don't leave anyone behind. And one time, we had to carry a kid down on a stretcher because he kept going unconscious because of the altitude sickness. So that was really scary. But it was hard. But what I would tell you is that, and this is actually one of my pictures, once you got to the top, it was amazing. Right? That all along the route, it was challenging. And all along the route, it was beautiful too. There are little beautiful flowers and plants. And when we get to the top, though, it was overwhelming. Like, the same kids who were crying because they didn't want to go on were now crying because they couldn't believe they had made it. Right? And like, what a life lesson to learn for a 15-year-old. I can climb a 13,000-foot mountain if I make myself, if I got my friends with me, if I got people pushing me. That, friends, I think work, what I've experienced in my life is that work is more a climb up a mountain. And when you climb a mountain, it's beautifully challenging. Okay, and as you think of your careers, your jobs, your work, wherever you're at in that journey, the very front end, some of us are retired. What I would imagine is it's going to be like that. There's going to be these moments of beauty. Where you're like, this is amazing. This is why I'm doing this, right? Like, hopefully you don't do something for 30 years you hate. There should be these days where you're like, this is pretty cool, right? But there's also going to be days that suck. They're challenging. And I think that's okay. And again, that's how the way God defines work in the Bible is it's going to be challenging, but it's going to be beautiful. So I want you guys, table time here, we'll go about 8 minutes. I want you to talk about work. How is or was if you're retired, but you're still working if you're retired. You're doing stuff for your kids. You're doing stuff around your house. How is it beautifully challenging for you? So in other words, what are the beautiful parts right now? And what are the challenging parts right now? Okay, you got about 8 minutes. Go. All right. Okay, let's pull together. I know you guys are chatty. I love it. You can always stay and talk more. You can go get a beer with one another, go out to eat, get some coffee. Go to tropical smoothie, Roger hits that up all the time, okay? Somebody give me something that's challenging. What's something challenging in one of your lives? Work, home, career? Anybody got a challenging thing that they want to throw out? Yeah, right? I wish I could just sit in a confined little closet in Hawaii, right? Where nobody would bother me on the beach. That'd be amazing. Okay, what's something good? What's a beautiful spot right now in somebody's life, career, friendships, marriage, anything? No beauty, Doug? When I look in the mirror, bro, that's what's beautiful.
Coming here on Sunday night.
Yeah, well, so the first trap is that trap of maybe just not great expectations for what we can expect from work. That we got to shoot it straight and expect work to be challenging, but also beautiful. That there are moments of beauty, hopefully, in what you do. If not, I would say find something else to do, right? Like if I hated every single second of every single day, I would go do something else, right? Anyway, so that's number one. Second trap we're going to look at tonight is the significance trap. Page 74. The significance trap, performance and success have become the main source of his significance. So that's what you're filling in there, the main source of significance. And I'm a smart guy, so I was like, well, how is significance defined? Because that might help me here think through this. So significance is the quality of being worthy of attention or importance. And I started thinking about that word worthy. That one's not in the book, but the other one was. That really is a guy. I think a whole lot of what we're trying to figure out is how do we measure up, right? Like what makes me worthy? What makes me important? What gives me identity in what I do, right? Like I don't know many guys that are like, I don't want to do anything or accomplish anything ever, right? Like most guys I know, especially guys in this room, are pretty driven dudes that are trying to be successful. They're trying to do their best. They're trying to chase down dreams. They're trying to lead families and wives and children, right? Like, man, I think we're all pretty driven to find significance. But the question I think becomes is, how do you figure out whether you're worthy or not? Like, what do you base that on? And the trap here is that as men, a lot of times, it's tempting, and I think you said this, Frank, that's what you were hitting at with defining. That's the word I should have wrote. You said it, I just didn't hear it. That we're tempted to define ourselves by what we do as men, right? I would say more than the ladies I know. Don't know if that's scientifically true, but I feel like it's true, anecdotally, that I tend to define myself by what I do. And it's a little bit of the Zoolander, getting to your identity. Anybody remember Zoolander? Super awkward, but sort of funny movie. Just don't watch it with your kids. There's a really really creepy scene in there. But anyway, there's this idea of who am I? Like, what makes me good, bad? What makes me, how do I measure up? What makes me worthy? So my background, a little bit of my story, was I came to faith through a ministry called Young Life. I don't know if anybody familiar with Young Life? Okay, maybe you've heard of it, maybe haven't. It's a ministry basically that works with high school students. So I went to Madeira. Kind of a church kid in the sense of like I knew enough that like I don't want to go to hell, so sign me up for that Jesus thing. You know, like that was my faith going through adolescence and into high school. It was kind of like, yeah, I got a library card and a get out of hell free card called Jesus. It's in my pocket. Pull it out when I need it someday. And then I went to a Young Life camp after my senior year of high school where they explained what we talked about last week, this idea of like the good news. They're like, hey, Jesus wants to be your friend and trade a lot of the brokenness and sorrow and shame you might have for forgiveness and eternal life. And I was like, sweet, that sounds like a good trade. So I got involved with Young Life right after high school. And for, 22 years was a part of the Young Life organization. So I was a volunteer for a little over 7 years. While I was in school, I was working at churches part-time, leading Young Life, Northern Kentucky. My Northern Kentucky peeps, wherever you are, we were talking about that earlier. And then I went on staff with Young Life for about 16 years. So I was in Athens, Ohio for a few years. I was in Southeast Cincinnati. We got sent to Myrtle Beach for 5 years, which is a pretty sweet gig to start Young Life down there. And then God brought us back here. But one of the things that dawned on me in 2016 as my Young Life journey was ending, and again, imagine 21 years of your life. Like I'm 48 years old. So that was a pretty big portion of my life in 2016 when it came to an end. I opened up my drawer, okay, and we're packing up our house to move, which has all kinds of emotional stuff attached to it. You know, we had just built a home in Myrtle Beach, our dream house. Mortgage, like real estate taxes in Myrtle Beach, like South Carolina, are so cheap. Okay, like they're like $1,800 a year for like real estate taxes. It's unbelievable. So I'm moving home. I'm kind of pissed. My dad's sick. Young Life's coming to an end. All kinds of stuff's going on. And I open up my drawer and I realized that of my like 23 T-shirts, one of them was not a Young Life T-shirt. So 22 of my 23 T-shirts were not Young Life, or were Young Life T-shirts. And you can see me here wearing a Young Life T-shirt. And what would happen, and why it became a big part of my identity, is you would go on like camp trips every summer, and how you did really mattered, okay? So I can tell you, like in 2001, I took the biggest camp trip I ever took, and I can tell you exactly how many kids went on the trip, 86, because I was proud of it, and I talked about it. And it became a little bit of who I was more and more every year. To the point where when it ended, I got rid of all my T-shirts. This is like, I don't need to be defined by a thing that I do. And I would bet for you guys, there's that temptation as well to be defined by what you do. A cool quote there in your book, whatever page we're on, 74, 75, I believe. It says, "We are the first culture in history where men define themselves," this is a nice pointing stick, "solely," and that's the scary part, "by performing and achieving in the workplace. It is the way you become somebody and feel good about your life. There's never been more psychological, social, and emotional pressure in the marketplace than there is at this very moment." So the trap is defining yourself solely on how you're doing at work, which, as we know, isn't always a great way to go. Because sometimes things at work you can't control, right? Like you can't control the economy. You can't control things that are above your head all the time. So if your definition of who you are is based on that, you're in trouble. Page 74, the significance trap. Only Jesus is a surer foundation for your significance and identity. We looked at this verse early on, Ephesians 2:10. And again, it's this idea of who am I? How do I measure up? What do I base that on? Is it based on how many kids go to camp if I'm a youth pastor? Is it based on how many widgets I sell if I'm in sales? Is it based on how many homes I sell if I'm a real estate agent? Like, what is it based on, Ryan? Help me. Well, wouldn't it be nice if it was based on just your relationship with God? That like he's saying, hey, you are my workmanship. Remember this? Created in Christ Jesus for what? For good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. That the answer to avoiding the significance trap is finding your significance in who God says you are. That, hey, you're a masterpiece. Like I made you with a personal, remember these? The first week, a personal and purposeful calling on your life. So whether I'm in Young Life or I'm at Horizon or I'm homeless living in a van down by the river, in God's eyes, I still have value and purpose and meaning. And as a man, when you lose those things, that is scary footing to be living on. So here's what I want you to do. More table talk. I want you to think about this. How much of this identity trap maybe you're stepping into or you fell into in your career. So answer these 3 questions around your table. Can I ever stop thinking about work? How quickly do I share what I do when I meet someone for the first time? And the big one, how would I respond if it was taken away from me? So if I was unemployed, like the thing that I do, that I'm known for, that this is me, well, what happens when that goes away? Am I still me or am I crushed? Okay, so I'll put 9 minutes on the clock. Try to hit that if you can, just because we got about 25 minutes left in total. Yes, it's stressing you out a little bit, Doug. PTSD. Yeah, don't worry, I'm not going to whack you with it. All right, hey, let's pull together. We got 15 minutes left and one last trap to get through. But I think of the 3, the thing I would ask you to consider is not just with work, but whatever the thing is that defines you, like what happens when that goes away? And what I'm learning as I get older is more and more of them go away, right? Like I just had a great breakfast with a guy in the room here, and we were talking about some of the things that he loved doing, that he like did his whole life. And then you get older and you can't do them anymore. And what happens when that is what defined you? You know, like you got to have something to still measure who you are, to tell you what your worth is. And that's the offer of Christianity, is that God says, hey, you're a masterpiece, like I created you. Here's your value, whether you're 19 and full of piss and vinegar, or you're 92, you know, and full of like Rolaids and diarrhea, right? Like whatever it is, like here's your value. This is it. Yeah, you never knew that analogy was coming out of me, did you, Doug? Yeah, I'm paid to speak. Isn't this amazing? Okay. Last one. So we've talked about the expectations trap. We've talked about the identity trap. Now we're going to talk about the money trap, right? Look at that. Woo! Yeah, that's going to be fun to pick up later. Did you know that in the Bible there are 2,350 verses concerning money? That 15% of what Jesus spoke about in his own words concerned money. Money's a big topic, and it's definitely a big trap that we as men can step right into in our careers if we're not careful. Page 75, here's what I think we all learn pretty quickly is materialism won't satisfy. And here's what I know at my age and what I've done, what John D. Rockefeller said is, how much money does it take to make a man happy? He was once asked. Again, if you've ever been in any of his homes, or he was very, 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 very wealthy, right? Like next level wealthy at the time. His answer was just $1 more, right? Like just $1 more is all it's going to take, and I'll be good. And my experience in my career is that's been the truth. Like here, so my first like church job, okay, I was like in my early 20s. I'm in school. I'm leading Young Life at Beechwood High School, and I'm like, okay, and I'm like delivering pizzas at the time, I think. And I'm trying to talk Fort Mitchell Baptist into hiring me, okay, to be their youth pastor, all right? And here was the sweet deal that I was like, if I could just do this, my life is about to change. I'm gonna be an easy street, okay? It was for $1,000 a month. And I was like, if I could just make 12 grand, like this is gonna change my life forever, right? And what happened when I made 12 grand? I was like, if it was just 15 grand, then I could go from the Ford, you know, like I could upgrade, and then it changed. And I remember like getting my first like full-time job with Young Life in Athens, okay? And I was making 12 grand in Fort Mitchell. In Athens, I bumped up to 19.2, okay? Be jealous, people, okay? Right? And at the time, it was like, this is amazing. This is like 72 more $100. This is great, right? And then very quickly it was like, hey, this isn't so amazing anymore. I want to get married, and I need to buy a ring, and right, like all those things started coming into play. And then the next job, when I moved back to Southeast Cincinnati and met Scott Springer, I think I made 35 grand. And I was like, I'm a millionaire, you know? And then I moved to Myrtle Beach and somehow bought a house in Myrtle Beach, making 50 grand a year. Isn't it crazy? And it's like, no matter where I've been, and thankfully I make more than that here, I just always need a little bit more. And I would imagine if I went around with my microphone and put it in front of all of your faces, you would probably say the same thing, right? Like, even if you feel like, great, I've got plenty, but I wouldn't mind that boat. So sure, you know, or that extra vacation, you know, the fourth one, like whatever it is, like it's just kind of an insatiable pit in our hearts if we're not careful. But here's the deal. The problem isn't about money. The Bible never paints money as evil, not even the amount of money. Okay, it's a heart problem that the Bible paints when the Bible talks about money. Because money is just a thing. It's just an object, right? Like what makes this play money and real money real money? They're both paper, right? Like there's not much of a difference. It's just a little bit. It's a thing. It's an object. It doesn't have a value, good or bad. But here's what is the problem the Bible talks about. It says, he who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. That it's this, where the line's crossed and where it becomes a trap in our jobs and our careers is when we love it. Because what do we do for things that we love? Real quick, let's whiteboard this. Anybody ever get married? Yeah, a few of us. Okay, what are some of the things that are true when you're in love? Like what are some things you do? You sacrifice, right? You spend time thinking about, right? With, dreaming about, right? I mean, think about it. When you first started dating, like your wife, like those first couple months, like you just thought about her all the time, all your thoughts, your dreams, right? What else? What about when you love something? You worship it. Have you ever had that when the girl dumps you and you're like, you're all I think about. I love you so much, right? Like I think all of us would say, I don't love money, Ryan. I don't love money. You're crazy. But I would bet as we look at our lives, there's these similarities to other things we've loved that are true, right? That we'll sacrifice for it. Who needs to be at all my kids' stuff? Because again, I don't need the extra zero, but if I get the extra zero, it's cool. They'll understand someday. My experience has been not so. Maybe we all do love money a little more than we care to admit. And the Bible says that the love of money is evil, that it's not about the money itself. It's not about the amount. It's about what it does to our hearts. Here's something I've stumbled into. We just did that part. Here's a truth that I've stumbled into that I think is very true, that we were made to love people and use things, but we're tempted to use people and love things. And money is a thing, right? Like God made us to love each other and to use this stuff, right? It's good. It's a tool. We need it, right? Like we wouldn't be sitting here in this beautiful building if people hadn't donated a whole lot of this stuff to Horizon Community Church. It's a good thing, but it's a thing we use, and people are the things we're supposed to love, but I get it backwards sometimes. Where I love this stuff and I want to use the people in my lives to accomplish what I want them to accomplish. It's a trap. Page 75, and here's the answer to the money trap. Be certain your ultimate hope and happiness is in the life-giving grace of Jesus and not the size of your bank account. That ultimately, I think we all know this is pretty temporary. That even in my life, I've seen it come and go. And I would imagine some of you guys could say the same thing. And even if you end the game and you're winning, it's like you're winning Monopoly when you die. You're like, I got the most stuff. It doesn't go with you, right? So at best case, you still leave it behind. The money trap. So I want to give you guys the last 7 minutes here around your table to talk about these three questions. Three of them. Do you think you've ever been too consumed with money? How did you know? And were there any negative consequences? And then at 8:15, I'll pray and we'll be done. 7 minutes. That's all you got. Yeah. Good. All right. Cool. Hey, pull her together and land the plane here. So I wonder for you, as you think about the 3 traps we've discussed tonight, like which one maybe are you most possibly heading towards? Like, is it the expectations one? Like, man, work's supposed to be easy, or it's supposed to be, I'm supposed to be comfortable, happy. Is it the promise from the Bible that work's going to be challenging? It's going to be beautiful, but it's going to be challenging. Or maybe the trap is the identity one. You're like, man, I'm measuring up by what I do, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and that's it. Well, what happens if that doesn't go so well? Wouldn't it be nice to measure up to who God says you are? Maybe it is money. And I know it's hard, and none of us want to admit, man, I'm consumed by money, right? But I think I've been consumed by money on the flip side of the coin, the lack of it, right? They're like, if I just want to feed my family, I just want to have more, right? And I think there's a danger in that as well that I want to end with here, just a verse out of the Bible that speaks to that. If maybe we're consumed with money on the negative side. This is Jesus speaking. He says, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you'll eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and body more than the clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And I love that. Are you not much more valuable than they? What we were talking about with worth earlier and how you measure yourself. Well, those are Jesus' words saying, hey, you're a masterpiece. I made you. You're valuable. So the money trap can be a negative one as well. It's easy to get consumed with money when the bills are piling up, right, as well. I'm going to pray. We'll be done. Thanks for hanging out for 3 extra minutes. God, thank you just for these men. I thank you that you know each of them by name. You know them by story. That you've been pursuing them their whole lives. I thank you that you died to give us meaning and purpose. Thank you that you told us about work, that it would be challenging, that you gave us an identity apart from our work that doesn't have to be based on that, and that you gave us a way to have a healthy relationship with money. So I just pray for each of us that we could avoid these traps in our lives, in our work. In your name, amen.